Danny drove to the place where Jenny had led him. When they arrived at the location, Danny and Michael got out of the car to investigate the area. While they were searching the area with their flashlights, Jenny and Laura stayed in the car. "Where is the tree?" asked Laura. Jenny pointed at the trees across the road. "I came out from there. I ran about 300 feet straight." Laura stared at the trees across the road, breathing deeply, trying to gather her courage. Meanwhile, outside, Michael discovered blood on the road and asked Danny to check it. Danny thought it might either be an animal carcass that was run over by a car or a hunted animal shot by hunters. They followed the blood trail into the forest. When they went inside the bushes, covered by the side of the road, Michael went through the bushes and saw the horror. He screamed, "Oh shit!" There was a male body with the head cut in half. Danny told him that they needed to report this to the sheriff's office. As they headed back to the car, Danny saw Laura running toward the woods across the road. "Hey, wait!" he shouted after her, but Laura didn't even stop to look at him. He started running behind her. "Danny, wait!" Michael shouted behind Danny and started running after him. When they crossed the road, Danny asked Michael to radio the sheriff's office and take care of Jenny. Danny was running behind Laura. Moonlight was the only source illuminating the eerie, dark woods. Michael stopped running and turned back to walk to the car. Jenny was so scared that she stepped out of the car, facing toward Michael. As the car came into Michael's sight, he saw a figure holding an axe. He drew his gun and pointed it at the figure. "Put the axe down and raise your hands," he demanded. Jenny turned back and saw the Bandage Man. She started screaming and ran toward Michael. "Stay behind," he told Jenny. "Put the axe down and raise your hands. I won't repeat," he threatened the Bandage Man. As he approached the Bandage Man, Michael's heart pounded faster. He stopped next to the car. The Bandage Man started walking toward Michael. When he got closer, he raised his hand, holding the axe. Michael took a shot, but the Bandage Man didn't stop. He started walking faster. Michael took another shot, but the Bandage Man was close enough to attack him with his axe. He stabbed the axe into Michael's neck down to his chest. Jenny watched everything in horror. She screamed and started running after Danny and Laura. The Bandage Man gave an angry look with his yellow eyes. Meanwhile, Danny caught Laura in the woods. "Let me go. There is only one way to end this," she argued with Danny. "We found a body in the bushes. There's a killer around. Keep your horror story to yourself. Right now, you're my responsibility, so stick with me," Danny demanded of Laura. Their argument was suddenly interrupted by Jenny's scream. "Is that Jenny screaming?" Laura asked, confused. "Jenny, we are here," Danny shouted to the trees. Jenny ran toward Danny, trying to explain, but she couldn't put the words together clearly. Danny grabbed Jenny's shoulders and shook her a bit. "What happened? Where is Michael?" he asked. "He died. That thing killed him," she said, crying. Danny drew his gun. "Both of you stay with me," he said to Jenny and Laura. He asked Jenny to compose herself and be quiet. Danny held his gun in hand, trying to shield them. When Jenny calmed down a bit, there was a quiet moment, and only the owls hooting and birds chirping could be heard. As they stood still, they realized there was another sound, a heartbeat. "That's the tree," Jenny said, her lips trembling. Laura started running toward the sound. "Stop!" Danny demanded, but Jenny's scream made him stop. The Bandage Man was approaching them through the trees with the axe in hand, raised in the air. Danny warned him one more time, but he realized that he wasn't listening, so he took a shot at him. The Bandage Man didn't stop. The Bandage Man swung the axe to attack Danny. Danny dodged the attack by ducking and stood behind the Bandage Man. He took a couple of shots and spent all 6 rounds in his Colt. The Bandage Man didn't even fall to the ground. He suddenly turned with anger, the axe in his hand, and swung it at Danny. His axe chopped off Danny's right arm. He screamed in pain. Jenny couldn't believe her eyes at what was happening in front of her. The Bandage Man swung his axe one more time, from down to Danny's chin, cutting it open right across his mouth. Jenny couldn't move. She was frozen. When the Bandage Man turned to Jenny, he suddenly heard a voice. "Tony, I'm here," Laura shouted at him. The Bandage Man stood still for a while. It felt like the sound and the name he heard were familiar. He shook his head and started walking toward Laura. "Jenny, get the hell out of here! Run!" Jenny regained her energy and started running to the main road. Laura was walking backward as she faced the Bandage Man. As she walked backward, she got the Zippo from her pocket. But suddenly, she tripped over a stone and fell to the ground. The Zippo fell out of her reach. The Bandage Man was close enough to attack her. Laura was trying to get the Zippo, but because of the Bandage Man's attack, she had to move in the opposite direction to repel the attack. She stood up, aiming her gaze at the Zippo. The only thing between her and the Zippo was the Bandage Man. She looked him in the eye. "Tony, if you are there, please stop." The Bandage Man's gaze dropped to the ground. Something was confusing here. Laura realized that the heartbeat from the tree had grown louder, and the Bandage Man's gaze returned to her. He raised his hand to swing the axe. Laura somersaulted to dodge the attack and managed to stay behind him. Laura got the Zippo and opened the lid to light it right away. After a couple of attempts, she was able to light it. But she was so focused on the Zippo that she couldn't see his attack coming. He swung the axe and hit and stabbed Laura's hand that was holding the Zippo. As a result of the Bandage Man's aggressive assault, the Zippo was propelled through the air, ultimately striking the tree. Laura, in a desperate act, had previously shattered the holy oil bottles, generously dousing the lower portion of the tree with the sacred oil. The convergence of the Zippo and the oil-saturated tree led to an immediate and fierce ignition of flames. In the meantime, the Bandage Man was ready to attack a second time. Laura bent over, holding her injured hand in pain. The Bandage Man swung the axe and stabbed it into her left shoulder. Laura was screaming, and suddenly the Bandage Man stumbled. Something was wrong, as the tree was on fire. Although she was in pain, Laura mustered her energy to stand up. She approached the Bandage Man. She raised her right hand and held Tony's face. Despite the pain, she couldn't stand up exactly, but she had enough energy to look into Tony's eyes. "I love you, Tony," she said, tears streaming down her face. Tony's eyes' pupils enlarged. Suddenly, images in his mind rolled like a film strip. He kissed his wife in the morning before setting off for work. After cutting down some trees, he saw the tree that now stood burning. He thought it had died and needed to be cut down. He held his axe and hit the tree with all his power. Suddenly, an acid-like liquid squirted from the tree, some of it splashing onto Tony's arm. He went back home in pain. Laura put some bandages on his arm and went out to fetch the doctor. While he waited for his wife, the acid burn continued to spread all over his body. He got more bandages and started wrapping his entire arm, followed by his belly, legs, and it covered his entire body, including his head. He pulled himself together, and Laura saw the tears in his eyes. "I will always love you," said Laura, as she held him tightly. She leaped into the fire, holding Tony with her. The fire grew larger and larger. The whole tree was burning, and the yellow fire turned into a purple one. Tony and Laura's screams echoed in the woods, but their screams ended with a witch's scream. The tree turned into ashes, as did Tony's. Laura's burned body was the only remains there. Jenny returned to the police station, driving the police car she had arrived in. After Jenny's story, the police officers searched the area and found all 5 bodies, but there was no sign of the killer. Even though there wasn't any incident caused by the Bandage Man, the horror story remained in Coos Bay for many years. People believed that the Bandage Man was still alive and would never stop hunting. As the night darkened and the wind whispered through the forest, the chilling legend of the Bandage Man lived on, serving as a warning to those who dared to explore the haunted woods of Coos Bay, Oregon. The memory of that horrifying night would forever haunt the town, leaving a shadow of fear and dread in its wake. The forest would remain a place where the living and the supernatural met, and where darkness would forever hold sway over the hearts of those who ventured within.